Welcome everybody to this webinar here. As you can see, this is about the India Mobile User Experience Monitor. Today is Feb 15th. So first of all, wish you all a very happy Basant Panchami. Many of you could be joining this live webinar from your home offices, and some of you will catch this on YouTube recording later on. As you know, this is part of a monthly webinar series that we do. We have done 2 already. This is the 3rd one in the row. And if you attended the last month, January's one, we talked about the e-marketing outlook for India and what are marketers in India planning for 2013. A hashtag for this event and anything that we host or plan in terms of engagements is OctaneIn. So feel free to share your questions or your responses or your queries with this hashtag, and many of our followers or folks from the team can respond to it. We'll be happy to take your questions there as well. Without further time on this, let me just move forward quickly to where are we in India as a country when you look at the mobile growth. We've talked about 900 million plus mobile devices, mobile phones in India, smartphones in India doubling up in terms of shipments every year. Last year, if you remember, more people in India accessed internet through mobile internet than landline-based broadband connections. So that itself shows you the penetration and the fast-moving nature of mobile technology in India. We touched upon some of this in our first webinar last month in January as part of our e-marketing outlook report. And in this particular webinar, my idea is to share with you what exactly happened as part of our outreach to mobile users. So far, every year we've been researching with marketers in India what they think about e-marketing, what are their plans, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And so far, we haven't reached out to the actual users, the recipients, the consumers. So this is the first time our research that we have gone out to actual mobile users in India. So we reached out to them and we asked them specific questions about their mobile experiences. And our idea was to have some research around these 3 objectives. First, to know about the experience of mobile users in India, to share some of the findings with Indian organizations to help them and provide a better mobile experience to the users so they can come out with better offerings and better value proposition for the mobile users and themselves. And also, very importantly, put a stake in the ground so periodically we can monitor trends in the mobile user behavior, and hopefully over the next few years start building a trending analysis of how the usage patterns are, what are the preferences, how they're evolving with the mobile users in India. How did we go about doing this research project? We used combination of crowdsourcing and online technologies. I led a team of 6 researchers, and for this I engaged with 6 business schools in India. And we sort of borrowed resources from the 6 business schools. So we had 6 researchers join us from 6 business schools, and we conducted this research. By the way, you can download a copy of this report on octane.in/research. It's a free copy available to you with all the details. And if you would like to have a print copy, we're happy to send you or ship you a print copy as well. If you look at the research participants profile, we reached out to 2,800. We actually reached out to many more through Facebook, LinkedIn, in-person touch, emails, phone, updates on social media. But ultimately, we tracked 2,892 responses. So 2,892 qualified, fully filled research survey, and then we sort of built on it. So if you look at the research participants profile, these are mobile users in India. There's a heavy bias towards 21 to 34 years of age if you look at the first graph. And the split between smartphone users and simple feature phone is 36%. And if you look at income group, because of the nature of our outreach and because of the participants' willingness to be part of this research, we found that it was heavily skewed towards the younger managers, younger people, students, etc. So there's a heavy bias towards income group when you look at the pie, which talks about less than 5%, less than 5 lakhs annual income, 31%, and what income. So maybe a lot of students there who have said, I'm not still employed. So there's a bias towards participants profile of students, young professionals, young managers. And if you look at the male versus female split, it's decently split. 66% is male recipients, male participants in this research report, and the remaining is female users of mobile phones in India. Having said that, let's move on to how did we go about conducting this research project. We started doing this in September and we finished by October, the raw data and the collection of research responses. We had earlier said if you can reach out to 500 mobile users in India, and if you can get their perspective on how they use their mobile phones and what do they experience, we would have reached out to a fair amount of sort of sampling of consumer base. We finished with almost 3,000 responses. That's pretty exhaustive. But there's a bias towards certain cities, and I'll talk about that later. But the raw data for the research was collected through a combination of emails, online, we ran promos on Facebook, on Twitter, and combination through a simple SurveyMonkey link, but telephonic interviews too, and in-person conversations. And because some of these B school campuses got involved, they were able to garner a lot of support, and they went actually to one of them in Pune, for example, went to a shopping mall and did do a survey project there with live research interviews with shoppers who have come to that particular shopping mall. So as I said, shared with you, survey activity lasted 2 months, and then from November, December, we spent time in analyzing the data, fine-tuning it, running some analysis on it. But it does represent a diverse group of subscribers, mobile users from varied groups, economic strata, and states of India. And then, of course, as I shared with you, we did some advanced segmentation to see how the trending is in terms of the raw data. We limited the survey. We didn't limit the survey, but it got limited by its own organic nature to metro and large cities. I wish we could capture the likes of Gorakhpur and Ranchi and other smaller cities like Jamshedpur. But we found that majority of our respondents came from New Delhi, Pune, Gurgaon, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Chandigarh, Ghaziabad, Kolkata, Chennai, Kanpur, and Bangalore. There are other cities as well, but majority of the respondents are coming from that particular metro and sort of large city cluster. Majority of the respondents belong to the age group of 21-34. Majority of them are from middle income group, and this is very interesting that 2/3 of our surveys actually happened, research interviews happened in person. So there's a strong credibility to this. This is not just purely online. We actually had field outreach, feet on the street, who actually met people in shopping malls, in offices, in business school campuses, and asked them questions about their experience about the mobile usage. So moving on, if I look at simple feature phone versus, now we're going to talk about some of the research highlights. Simple feature phone, internet activation is 54%, smartphone activation for internet is 87%. So clearly if you look at smartphone usage, it's driving a higher usage of internet. There is of course a higher occurrence of data as well, data loss, but email access is going up and purchase behavior by email is also going up. If you look at the top 3 activities on the mobile platform, irrespective of smartphones or simple feature phone, our respondents said Facebook updates was number 1, SMS was number 2, and email messages, checking email messages emerges a top 3rd activity. So online banking, online shopping, maps on the mobile devices are still not up in the top 5 activities when you look at the mobile users in India on their mobile devices. In terms of penetration of smartphones, we did some profiling and we found that if you look at the 21-34 years, 65.8% of our respondents in that particular category, consumers in that category, had access to smartphones. So there's a rise. If you look at the 45 years plus, there's only 50% penetration of smartphones. So clearly, if you're a mobile company in India, or if you're looking at device marketing in India, there is an opportunity here to educate the under 20 years and the over 45 plus years of age in terms of the selling of smartphones. Only 10%. Now we're going to get into more details of this. So how often do you experience dropped calls on your mobile phones? That was a question. And only 10% of the respondents never experienced a dropped call. The rest of the respondents had to face this problem owing to various reasons. So clearly network coverage has improved, but there was sort of strong feedback about 90% of them experiencing some dropped call, and about 20% of them experiencing it sort of several times a day. So there is a network coverage issue, there's a dropped call issue on mobile phone experience in India with consumers. Have you activated 3G on your mobile phone? And we took a pun on this question. We didn't say no or yes, we said what's 3G and yes. So 60% of the users who responded to our research project said yes, they have activated 3G. But there's a big number of 40% who probably need to be made more aware about 3G and what the benefits are of this new technology on their mobile handsets. So we asked them, hey, what's the number one reason? I mean, you talked about Facebook browsing, you've talked about SMS and email. If you look at email, which is your primary vehicle for accessing your emails? Do you access them on laptops first, or do you use mobile phones as the primary device for accessing your email? And a high number of 35% of the respondents said mobile phone was their choicest medium for accessing emails. And 61%, which is still a high number, use laptop or desktop computer for accessing emails. Now, what's the net from this particular research sort of outcome for our marketeers? Most of the marketeers that we speak to at Octane Research or at Octane Marketing are still very much focused around how their communication looks on a laptop device or a desktop PC. And if you look at the number of folks who are accessing this on a mobile phone at 35% plus, I think there is a sort of shift we have to do in this year in how marketeers present their sort of messages through email on mobile devices. We asked them, how often do you sort of do your data backup? And just 40% of the respondents are regular with taking a data backup, and 28% of the respondents never took a backup of the data. So that's sort of, to me, it stood out as a high number, but this is not something which is out of the whack when you look at the consumer behavior around us on mobile. Dropped calls experiences, we talked about this. We said only 11% of respondents never experienced a dropped call. As high as 36% respondents experience a drop call at least once a day. So clearly another area of opportunity where telcos have to step up and improve the experience. This one is a slide that probably should resonate or should provide an area of opportunity for marketeers in India and for companies in India who want to engage with consumers through mobile devices. Getting unwanted calls and spam messages. How often do you receive spam or unwanted calls on your mobile phones? With 90% of the respondents experiencing unwanted calls and spam messages, with 47% of them receiving them at least once every day. Now that should stand out, as very many of us want to do affiliate marketing, partner marketing, but in that guise of affiliate marketing and partner marketing, a lot of practices are being adopted by marketeers which are not landing very well with the mobile users, and this is creating some dissonance. And the area of opportunity is very clear. If you were to sort of take care of this in terms of opt-in marketing, permission marketing techniques, this can really help us build better brands online and through mobile devices. Several times a day, 27%. So that's an area of opportunity for India marketeers. Moving on, we asked them, where would you like to see improvement in terms of your mobile experience, network coverage, internet speed. Those two stood out as the largest of the concerns at 33% and 30%. Now, this mobile user experience we feel is the largest in India in a way that we have asked the mobile users themselves. You'll see a lot more reports in the India mobile domain, which is being published by telcos and mobile operators based on how the consumption is on the back end. So they're able to provide the reports in terms of GPRS usage and internet speeds, etc., etc. But this is the first user experience research of its own where we have reached out to the users and asked them how they are sort of experiencing the mobile platform. Unwanted SMS calls and voice quality did account for 20% and 17% sort of concern. Internet access speed was 30%. So there you go. So there's a lot more to be done in terms of the infrastructure improvement for network coverage and internet speed. This is what our mobile users have indicated to us. So we asked them, there's so much to be said about mobile apps and internet on mobile phones. What's been your experience about the apps on your platform, on your devices? And if you see, 46% of them said slow to load. 46% of our respondents said they're so slow to load, didn't function as expected. So there's a difference between what they expected the app to do and and didn't work. And 11% of them said formatting and display is not optimized for their screen experience. These are some of the data points if you're working on a mobile app project, or if you want to reach out through mobile sort of software to your consumers in India, you may want to look at this data in a little more detail. So not everything is bad about what the consumers are telling us about their mobile experience. We also asked them, hey, you know what? Would you like to hear from your favorite companies and brands? The keyword being favorite. We said, you know what? If they want to reach out to you, would you like to receive updates or hear from your favorite brands? And overwhelmingly majority of them, 78% of them said yes. They would like to hear from their favorite brands and companies. And then we asked them, how often would you like to hear from them? Would you like to receive updates from them on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, or whenever the need may be? And if you look at it, 28% of them have said once in a month, and 28% of them have said once a week. So clearly, if you wanted more data as a marketeer to go back to your teams and say, you know what, let's stay away from doing daily updates, even if you're a web-based deal site or an online company, you have the data here. Only 13% of the respondents want to hear from you, even if they like you as a brand, on a daily basis. And 10% of them that said, you know what, talk to me once every 3 months. So clearly, if you split the two, once a month and once a week, 28%, that gives you 56% of the respondents want to hear from you once a month or once a week. So that's the frequency of the updates they like to hear from you. If you were to go further, we said, how would you like to stay in touch with these companies, these favorite brands of yours? What is the vehicle? How would you like them to stay in touch with you? And in this one, we asked them questions about SMS, phone calls, email newsletters, or apps messaging, including Facebook apps. And they said, you know what, 41% of them said, I would prefer email for staying in touch with my brands or companies. And so much has been written about SMS and demise of SMS in India and why SMS doesn't work anymore. And the regulator is trying to sort of put their own perspective on how to use and not to use SMS in India. But from a consumer preference, it's not going away. 37% of our respondents felt that SMS updates were sort of important for them to keep in touch with companies. So after emails, 41%, clearly the leader. You have SMS being the close second for sort of preferred channel for getting updates from companies, and a mere 16% of them want to receive your phone calls. So clearly, if there's one message I would like to share with you from this slide here is that, well, email is doing well and SMS is not going away. Please focus on less number of phone calls if you want to stay as a preferred company, favorite company of our consumers. So you may want to look at your plans for this year when you look at your multi-channel marketing of phone, SMS, email, in-app messaging, etc. So we asked them one more leading question. We said, what is your behavior if you received a promotional offer, say through different channels like email and SMS? What would be sort of, if you received an offer on email versus SMS, when are you likely to make a purchase? So 58% of them have not made any purchase when they've received a promotional offer by email, and that number is 66%. But clearly there's a bias towards email. Of 42% of them have made a purchase or likely to make a purchase when they receive a promotional offer through email versus SMS. So clearly SMS is not going away, but we are seeing a shift towards the consumers preferring to receive updates and promotional offers on email and leading towards a better likelihood of a purchase. So these are some of the top highlights of what I thought I'll share with you in this quick 20-minute short discussion. And then if I was to sort of recommend some things to you, if you were some 8 key takeaways that you could probably take from our research report and the session today. So one is that cheaper smartphones will certainly help the mobile service providers. We're seeing a lot more cheaper smartphones come to India. In fact, the category of feature phone and what is a smartphone is merging. Telecom service providers should try and introduce more lucrative offers that we're seeing already beginning to happen, and promoting internet access through their mobile phones, good packages on 3G and etc. Addressed the issue of dropped call. I think that continuously seems to be one theme that's coming across many of our questions. And if mobile has to take off and online banking has to take off through mobile devices and online shopping, I think there's still lot more to be done on the mobile platform. Online banking in India and shopping in India on the desktop may be on the rise, but when you look at the consumers using mobile to sort of access those features and benefits, I think it still needs more to be done in that category. We should do a more sort of vocal campaign about 3G, given that a lot of them don't know about 3G. And most of them are likely to sort of access internet from the mobile devices. So smartphones will have to make it convenient for the customer to surf internet and do shopping. And the last two recommendations, which is the good news, is that the mobile users in India want you to stay connected with them, but the periodicity of this communication should not be more frequently. And there's a very strong negative feedback from the mobile users on the amount of spamming, unwanted promotional messages, phone calls that we do through our channels, indirect or direct. And perhaps this is a time that every marketer in India needs to review with their teams, not just what they do internally, but even partner promotions or through partner marketing or resellers, how they're using the brand and how the channels and affiliates are marketing and interacting with the consumers in terms of spam or unwanted messages. Email emerges as the top favorite channel for the consumers to receive promotional offers when compared to SMS, though SMS still is not going away, it's still there. And with growing smartphone shipments in India, I think we forecast the continued rise of email and social channels for consumer engagement in India. A short plug about Octane. You can find more about us on octane.in, but we deliver 300+ million opt-in mailboxes every month. We serve 120 brands in India, some multinational, and we help them engage through multi-channel in an integrated fashion. Privately held, we're profitable, 40+ team member, full-time employees and hiring. We were voted as India's hottest tech 20 startup for 2012 by Tech Circle's annual review. And unlike many ESPs, we, I think, the only one which can offer an on-site and online deployment with a world-class technology. So you have flexibility of how you can leverage the power of email marketing and ESP platforms available to you, the best in class. Let me open up to some question and answers. I've seen many questions and already popping in. There were some questions already before we started the seminar. I see some hands raised. So let me take a couple of questions if I can, and we will take 2 or 3 questions, and that may be helpful. So there's a question which is, does the report give any idea of the future of SMS as a marketing platform? Well, we have not specifically said the future of SMS, but if you look at the consumers, they have said they would prefer to receive updates and interaction with the brands and on SMS. So the channel, SMS, as a marketing channel, SMS is not going away. Also, if you look at the behavior, user behavior of how they use their mobile devices after Facebook updates, which stood out to me something as an outlier in my research analysis. They did say SMS updates is the second most preferred activity on their mobile phones after, of course, voice calls. So clearly SMS is not going away, but the way we have used SMS as a marketing platform clearly has put the channel itself in spot. So perhaps this is the time for us to relook at it and start doing some clean opt-in SMS campaigns and not the kind of campaigns that we have historically driven in India on SMS platform. Maybe that will shift. But clearly there is an uptake for SMS as a marketing platform with the users. There is another question. Can we ever truly cross-platform email campaigns that feel designed for desktops as well as mobile devices? So first question, I mean, it's a question of business need, right? You will have to define email campaigns which are cross-platform. If the consumers are accessing your messages through multiple channels, mobile, web, desktops and social media and plugins, and so those are multiple channels. So you will have to design cross-platform email campaigns. And yes, you can optimize campaigns for desktop as well as mobile devices. I'll give you a small example just to land this in terms of what happens. Most of the email campaigns these days are driven for desktop usage. So when you receive it on your smartphone or good feature phone, it doesn't render very well. It's very graphically intensive, it doesn't have text hyperlinks you can quickly go through. So those are some of the challenges you will see. So I would recommend that if you're doing an email campaign, try HTML text more often than big budget, graphically layout stuff which doesn't render very well unless the user downloads the image. And when you are mobile in a sort of on the run, on the go, you would not like to be compelled to receive to download the images. And what it does, second thing, once somebody has checked that email, when they go back to their desktop, it shows that email was read already. So then they will not go back and open that email again. So you've lost out on 2 counts. One, they opened the email, you could have triggered a call to action, didn't happen because it was too graphical in nature, took time to deploy. And second, now that the email is marked as read, most of the consumers will not go back and open that particular email. So there's a challenge there. In this mobile users report, what was the one most interesting and perhaps unexpected finding? In my view as a marketeer, I didn't expect 78% of them to say they would like to hear from brands in India, given how much of spamming on electronic platforms we have done in India as marketing community. I thought they would say, you know what, I don't want to talk to brands. But clearly there's a high number of consumers who would love to hear from brands. So that, if you ask me, was one thing that stood out as the highlight of the report from a consumer feedback or standpoint perspective. I see some more questions coming here. What we'll do is we have some 16 questions lined up, but unfortunately we're running out of time. What we'll do is we'll try to answer those questions, and there's some 7 hands going up. We run out of time today, but what we'll do is we'll try to answer all your questions and directly, or maybe put them on Twitter. And then you will have the archive of this, this presentation to you, available to you in case you want to share this with your friends or colleagues. And then if the questions that you have raised and the answers haven't come back to you, you can definitely ask us like you can drop an email to us at engage@octane.in, and we'll be happy to respond back to you. Of course, you can download the copy of the report on octane.in/research. And thank you for your participation today, and we hope to see you next on the webinar on 14th of March. That webinar will be featuring on inbox deliverability of the messages that you send out to your customers, and we hope to receive your support and participation in the same number for that webinar as well. Thank you, and you have a great day.